If you're a dog owner in North Yarmouth, Maine, you already know that life here with your four-legged friend is pretty special. So we're going to break down everything you need to know to find the perfect local dog trainer, one who really understands your lifestyle. First, we'll talk about why training here is unique. Then, we'll get into some key concepts, how to pick the right pro, what you can expect it to cost, and finally, some helpful tips for navigating daily life in town with your dog. So let's start with the big question. Why does training in North Yarmouth require its own playbook? Well, life here just isn't the same as in a dense city, right? Your training needs to match that. It has to prepare your dog for the world they actually live in, whether that's a quiet trail walk or the surprise appearance of a deer in your yard. This is really about preparing for those everyday moments. We're talking about teaching your dog how to handle themselves on a narrow trail, how to not totally lose it when wildlife appears, and how to greet guests politely. These are the real-world skills that make for a peaceful life in North Yarmouth. Okay, so now that we know why local context is so important, let's get into the how. What are the basic training ideas and formats you should know about? You're going to hear this term a lot, positive reinforcement. And really, it's simple. It's all about rewarding the behaviors you want to see more of. This approach is great because it builds a super strong, trusting bond, and it makes learning fun for your dog, which means those new skills are much more likely to stick. So, you've got a couple of main options for how the training happens. Group classes are fantastic for practicing focus with other dogs and people around. On the other hand, if you're dealing with stuff that only happens at home, like barking when the doorbell rings, private sessions are perfect because you're solving the problem right where it happens. All right, so you've got the basics down, but how do you actually find the right person? Let's get into how to evaluate and choose a great professional. Here's the key detail. Maine doesn't actually require dog trainers to be licensed. That means certifications are one of your best tools for checking a trainer's expertise. Credentials like these show they're committed to their education and professional standards. For general manners, a CPDTK is a great sign. But if you're dealing with something more complex, like serious aggression, you might look for a specialist with a CBCCK. When you're chatting with a potential trainer, this is one of the first things you'll want to ask. You're listening for an answer that's all about reward-based methods. A good trainer will always prioritize making sure your dog feels safe and is having a good time during the process. This question brings it all back to your life here. You want to hear that they don't just use some cookie-cutter plan. A great trainer will ask you about your daily routines and challenges, whether that's walking past a neighbor's chickens or practicing recall on a local trail, and they'll build the training around that. Now, this is a big one, especially for more complex issues like sudden aggression or anxiety. A trainer who says yes, absolutely, to working with your vet is a true professional. They understand that some behaviors might have a medical root cause and that collaboration is key. Okay, let's talk about the practical side of things, money. What should you expect to budget for professional dog training around here? A good benchmark to start with is the cost of a single private lesson. Around the North Yarmouth area, you'll typically see prices in this range. Of course, that can shift a bit based on the trainer's experience and how far they have to travel to get to you. And here's a look at the bigger picture. As you can see, group classes are usually the most budget-friendly option. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got board and train programs, which are a much bigger investment. Those in-home coaching packages of 4 to 6 visits often hit a sweet spot, giving you great value for tackling specific goals over time. All right, training is one part of the equation. The other is just knowing the local rules and resources to be a great dog owner in town. So here's a must-know rule. Every dog over 6 months old has to be licensed each year. It's a simple process, but you'll need to show proof of a current rabies vaccination when you go to the town office. And here are the other essentials. The rabies shot isn't optional. It's required by state law. When you're in public areas, your dog has to be under your control, which almost always just means on a leash. It's also good to know that excessive barking can be considered a nuisance, another problem that good training can definitely help with. Once you start building up those skills, you'll need places to practice them. Luckily, there are some great spots nearby. Places like Winslow Memorial Park in Freeport or Bradbury Mountain in Pownell are perfect for working on leash manners with all the real-world distractions of other people and nature. You know, at the end of the day, investing in training is really an investment in having a better, more relaxed life with your dog. It's all for the sake of those peaceful walks, having happy neighbors, and feeling confident bringing your well-behaved buddy along on all your adventures around town.